Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria QK.
Hi everyone, welcome to Mother Knows Death. On today's episode, we're going to talk about reality TV star Jon Gosselin from Jon and Kate Plus 8 and how he said he had bilateral pulmonary embolisms. We'll get into what that means and how he got something like that. I don't know if you guys have heard of Waymo, but it's a self-driving rideshare type of situation. Well, self-driving, and one hit a kid recently, so we'll talk about that. In true crime, we'll talk about a shocking video that went viral this week showing a baby falling out of the passenger side of a car and essentially bouncing down the street. The mom just gets out of the car and nonchalantly picks up the kid and puts it back in the car. And luckily, the whole thing was caught on video. And we'll also talk about how that case is connected to one of our grocery members. Then we will get into some medical news. This is a really crazy story involving a woman who claims that she grew a third boob during pregnancy. And then we'll wrap up the episode with a man who did the unthinkable and dumped his girlfriend's father's ashes out during a fight. All that and more on today's episode. Jon Gosselin.
Right. So he's of Jon and Kate Plus 8 fame. He has revealed that he was diagnosed with bilateral pulmonary embolisms just weeks before his wedding a few months ago in November. So what does this mean for us everyday people?
So bilateral pulmonary embolisms can kill a person. So it's really amazing that he was able to recognize that he had this and he survived. And it most commonly occurs when the blood clots in the deep veins of the legs and then it travels up into the heart and it gets stuck when the blood is going to go into the lung to pick up oxygen, and that clot causes a plug that the blood can no longer flow through, and it could cause instant death in a person. So whenever you hear of someone that's only 48 years old, there's no reason that anyone's blood should ever just start clotting like that. So you have to think, well, like, why did this happen? So a lot of times it could happen in people that have cancer or on cancer treatment, or you could get it after surgery. This is why when you have surgery or you're stuck in the bed after you have surgery, that they put those things on your leg, either compression stockings or those ones that go on your leg that like squeeze your legs. I don't know if you've ever seen those, but it's doing that because if you're stuck in the bed for a couple days, the blood can clot up. It could also happen if you're on an airplane for a long time or you're sitting in the car for a long time. That's why, especially when you're elderly and you have risk factors that you could have a pulmonary embolism, it's important when you take a flight that you get up every hour and just walk around for a couple minutes and sit down. And it's the same thing after you have surgery. That's why they tell you to do that. So with him, it doesn't seem like he had that. It doesn't seem like he had anything like that. An underlying clotting disorder. I feel like at 48 years old, he would already know that. So, you know what I think it's from? I recall him being a cigarette smoker.
Oh, interesting.
I remembered seeing lots of pictures of him. I searched it up just to make sure, and yes, he was like a known cigarette smoker. I don't know if he still is. I don't know if that's what it is. I'm just saying that it likely is due to that. Another thing that could be in a guy his age is testosterone therapy could also increase your risk of blood clots. So whatever happened, they're going to give him medications to stop this from happening because it's really dangerous. Cigarette smoking increases your risk of blood clots by like 2 to 3 to 4 times more than the average person that has no underlying history, because not only do the chemicals cause the blood to clot more, but also just smoking also damages the lining of the inside of the blood vessels, which can increase your risk of clots too. So he did say his started in the deep veins of his legs and it traveled. He first recognized it. So some of the symptoms are you look in the mirror and both of your calves are 2 completely different sizes. Maybe one of your legs looks a little bit different, like more purple than the other. And he was saying he had a really extreme pain in his leg. And then the next day he was getting really extreme pain in his shoulder. But it wasn't until he woke up and had a coughing fit and coughed out what he said looked like silly putty, which ended up being a big blood clot, that he was like, I have to go to the hospital right now. He drove himself to the hospital,
Wow.
which is crazy because that to me is like a 911 situation. And he got there and then, they were able to treat it, but he very well could have just dropped dead from this. This is, I've seen it at autopsy, just like a huge clot. When you open up the pulmonary artery, it's just there. So bilateral means it was going on both sides, and you could get one that sticks so much in the pulmonary artery that it's going in the left and the right, and it's just completely plugging up any blood that could possibly go through.
So scary.
It is scary. And a lot of people, like, this is just another danger of cigarette smoking, like, has nothing to do with cancer or anything, but it actually happened to my husband's mom after she gave birth to him. But so she was a smoker, but on top of that, when you're pregnant, you're considered to be hypercoagulable too. Like, you have more chance of blood clots. So the combination of that, it can give you clots. It's the same why they tell women that are taking birth control, like, don't smoke at the same time, because that hormone could increase your risk of clotting.
I was about to say, didn't we just talk about yesterday how I don't want to hear these stories?
Well, you're
of
not.
people
You're not.
giving birth?
I mean, like,
No, I
I
don't
guess
smoke.
anything with being pregnant is a risk factor, but the reason that it happened with Gabe's mom is because she was a chain smoker. So
Interesting. All right. In California, a child was so innocently walking to school and was hit by one of those self-driving Waymo cars. Don't you love the way that they phrased it? That, quote, made contact with a young pedestrian. Like, your car hit a child. Just say it.
well, they put out a statement and said that the pedestrian suddenly entered the roadway behind a tall SUV moving directly in the vehicle's path. And it said that, I thought this was interesting, the Waymo driver braked hard, reducing speed from 17 miles an hour to under 6 miles an hour. Well, it wasn't a Waymo driver because there's no driver. It's
I think that's what the car's called, the Waymo driver, because it was all capitalized. So I think that's what that model of the car was called.
Okay. So they have them in San Francisco. I just saw them on my trip. I haven't seen any around here.
We just saw
Well,
one on
but
Sunday.
But like, I don't know what it was like in Philly. Is that really a thing? It was like an SUV thing.
It said Waymo. It had the little like light thing at the top, which I think is how they
But
drive.
I've just never heard of it being here, so I don't know anybody that's actually been in one. I did want to take one when I was in San Francisco, like, just to check it out, but
No way.
they're the weirdest things in the world. It's just, I mean, in San Francisco, I'm like, if you're just driving around the city and you're not going that fast, I was like, I'll take the risk, just because I thought it would be kind of cool to check out. But going on a highway, like, I saw a bunch in California on the highway and stuff, and I just was like, how could you get in a car that's going 55 miles an hour and nobody's at the wheel? It just freaks me out too much. But you do have to think about it though, like, kids do pop up out of nowhere. So I think if you statistically looked at it, the Waymo probably is safer than a human driving it.
Yeah, what I was going to say is, like, this could have very well happened to a person driving a car, too, if a child suddenly popped out, right? But then something I noticed about the article was that it said it was in the proximity of other children and not a lifeguard, a crossing guard, right? So I'm like, all right, let's say the Waymo's driving and the crossing guard, for example, comes out, because sometimes they come out pretty quick. Is it just going to run the crossing guard over because it's in its path and it wasn't planning on it? This made me not comfortable thinking about it being around areas where more children are likely to be running around, like schools, playgrounds. I'm not saying they should be totally banned from those areas, but maybe in the populated times, like pick up, drop off,
I
when
just
kids
think
are
it's hard.
playing.
It's hard because you have a machine that's doing something that a human could do, but they don't have, like, instinct.
Yeah.
And every single time, if you drive down a street and you see, I mean, because this could very well be an example. You drive down a street and you see kids playing on the lawn with a ball. You slow down because you're like, there's a high probability that ball's going in the street and the kid's running after it and not even looking twice. But, like, those cars don't look at their surroundings and determine, like, the speed limit's 25, they're driving 25. They're not driving with caution because they feel like a kid might jump into the road. And I guess that's what the complaint was here.
Yeah, and I'm also like, are they actively cleaning the sensors and taking care of it and everything? Because as an example, with the snow last week, like my camera sensor on my trunk was totally blocked. So when I went in reverse, I couldn't see anything because there was snow on it, right?
Yeah.
So like, are they actually cleaning those actively and making sure those are all ready at all times? I don't know. I'm not really for these cars, and the more stories I hear, I'm not really into it.
All right. So this next one is outrageous, this video. You just watch it 20 times and you just can't even believe that you're actually witnessing it.
Well, we did actually watch it 20 times on YouTube Live on Friday, and I feel like we kept slowing it down because we couldn't tell exactly what happened. But basically, this woman was taking a turn, and suddenly her baby is seen flying out of the car. Why we kept watching it in slow-mo was because one of our people in the chat was like, did that baby just come out of the passenger side door in the front seat? And we couldn't, I feel like we really couldn't tell. It seemed like that's what happened.
We couldn't tell, but that's what was reported. So we're doing our YouTube Live, and then one of our members said, "Oh, do you see that gold car in the video? That was my friend, and she was driving on the way to meet me for lunch when this happened."
Yeah, so this video is crazy. So you see this car, suddenly the car door flies open, and then all of a sudden this baby is in the middle of the road, and this is in Los Angeles. This could have been so bad. And then the mom suddenly stops the car. Thank God the car is behind, including our member's friend, stopped very quickly. And the mom just nonchalantly walks around the back of the car, picks the baby up, brings the baby back in the car, and keeps driving. This was all caught on a dash cam of a car that was across the street.
Yeah, so our member's friend had she was very smart and looked at the car and wrote down the license plate number, which was very helpful.
Yeah, because
even though it was caught on dash cam, if they didn't have her license plate, they would have had a difficult time finding her, maybe.
Yeah, so I guess the order of events was whoever took the dash cam footage sent that into police, and then they were looking for more information. So then our member's friend was like, well, actually, I have the license plate because I was driving right behind them. So then they tracked down the woman, and she got arrested for felony child abuse.
Good. She should. I mean, there's no reason that how old was the kid? 18 or 19 months old?
18 months old.
There's no reason that kid was sitting in the front seat at all. There's no reason that kid wasn't in a car seat at all, or even a seatbelt at that. I mean, it's just completely irresponsible. And the fact that the kid opened the door and fell out of it just is unbelievable to experience that and witness that.
Yeah. This episode is brought to you by The Gross Room.
So this week's celebrity death dissection is on Catherine O'Hara, and we talked about that a little on yesterday's show and the condition she was born with, situs inversus, and the different types of that and what that would look like at autopsy. It's very cool, so check that out. And then last week's Forensic Friday was on the autopsies of the Idaho 4. There are I wouldn't say their autopsy reports were released, but there was a lot more information on their autopsies that were released. So we talked about the different findings and what that may have looked at autopsy. All that and more in the Gross Room.
Head over to thegrossroom.com now to sign up. All right, so a woman is claiming she grew a third boob, including a nipple, after she had her baby.
So when we're developing as an embryo, there's something called the mammary ridge or the milk line. And it basically goes from around where your nipple level is down the sides of your abdomen to your groin, like in a point down to your groin. And when most people develop as a human, only 2 breasts grow on that line. But like in theory, 2 breasts and 2 nipples. But in theory, you could get multiple breasts and multiple nipples anywhere along that line. So I mean, you see it with other mammals that they have multiple sets of breasts on that line going. You know, think about when
Yeah.
you look at like a cat or something like that. Like that's what a human could look like in theory too, right? So she already had this breast tissue there from the time that she was developing as an embryo, and she thought that it was just fat when before she got pregnant. But as soon as she got pregnant and had the introduction of all of the pregnancy hormones, it all of a sudden started growing so big that it looked like a boob, like growing under her armpit. And then when she had the lactation nurse came in and was trying to teach her how to breastfeed and stuff, she pointed it out, and then they noticed that there was a bump on it, and the nurse was like, "Oh, there's the nipple." And she was like, "What? I thought that was a skin tag." So she shows the picture and she has a fully formed, not fully, but like she has what appears to be a breast under her armpit with a nipple. And the skin even got darker because, as anyone that knows, when you get pregnant and you have a baby, that your nipples, your areolas get darker. And that's because of an increase in melanin pigment. So it actually happened on this boob that she's got under her armpit too. And the craziest part is that it could even lactate. So you'll see this soon enough when you have your baby. Like when you breastfeed, it feels really good because your boobs feel like they're going to explode. And then you breastfeed and then the milk builds up. And if you decide that you want to go out to dinner or something and you don't feed the baby in a certain time, like I remember going out to dinner and like my boobs just being like as hard as a bowling ball and just like going into the sink of a bathroom and like squeezing it out because it just feels so gross. So she said she gets this feeling in that breast that's under her armpit now too. But then when she feeds it, like it doesn't feel like so explosive.
The funny thing for me is it doesn't really look like a boob. Like it's kind of giving scrotum a little bit when you look at the
Scrotum
picture.
vibes.
And it's like purple, whereas her other boobs are still flesh toned. So that was kind of crazy. But I love this quote she said. She said, quote, "Telling me that I have an extra nipple on my armpit before I even had my first postpartum poop is diabolical work."
I know. She's like really a good sport and funny about it. And I mean, the only thing that she could do at this point is get it surgically removed. It'll shrink down probably after she's done breastfeeding, but I mean, she does have like a scrotum pit, so like she's going to have to take care of that.
Well, it's crazy too because she shared this online, and there's a bunch of other women that seemingly have this problem that they deemed it the sisterhood of the third nipple.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not just females too. It could happen in males. We've gotten them as surgical specimens, supernumerary nipples, they're called. Some people could have 3, 4, 5, like they could have multiple ones. And I mean, another concern too is if you have accessory breast tissue, you could get cancer in it theoretically too. So she should get it cut out at some point. I wouldn't just leave it there.
No, I can't imagine it's comfortable in any capacity
Yeah.
at all. All right, a man and his girlfriend got in a fight, and as a result, he allegedly dumped her father's ashes into the backyard.
That's so dick.
Yeah, it's really dick, and he's being charged with abuse of a corpse, which I
Good.
thought was no. I'm totally in agreement. It's good. I'm just like, of all the crimes we cover out here, the charges people get, I don't know.
Well,
That
he
never
dumped
makes sense.
He didn't just dump them on the floor where they could have been swept up. It was like all over the backyard. They weren't able to get it up.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, and it's completely disrespectful. And it's just like next level dick. Like I don't know how mad you could get at someone to do something like that.
Well,
I'm
it
glad
seemed
they're
pretty-
setting an example.
It seemed pretty planned out, not like something he just did in the heat of the moment, because the police got called over the domestic dispute, and then that's when the girlfriend said he was hiding the urn from her for a while, and then that's when he did it.
Yeah, I mean
So-
that's just like abusive behavior. Like who does? There's certain things you just don't do, right?
Well, obviously, yes.
Off limits, that would be on the list of off limits when you're in a fight.
Oh, 100%. I mean, what monster would do something like that? Like, it's not hard enough to lose your parent, but your dickhead boyfriend's are going to take his ashes and dump them all over the backyard, so you have no chance at all of getting any of them back.
Yeah, not cool, not cool.
No. All right, guys. Well, we have some Valentine's Day merch for sale on the DoraModderShop.com. You could always access that link through the description of every episode if you're interested in buying. We also have our City Vineyard tickets for sale for New York City on February 21st, where you're going to have the best time ever at that show.
Yeah, I really hope you guys go because we would love to meet you, and we'll definitely have time to do that. So
Yeah, and
check
we're
that out.
hoping to do a gross remember picture at the end, like we did at our Dark
Yes,
Side New
for sure.
Jersey show. And maybe some other true crime friends of ours are going to be popping in and out.
Maybe.
So you just never know. All right, guys, please head over to Apple or Spotify, leave us a review, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and submit your stories to stories@motherknowsdeath.com.
See you guys. Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day, and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.